The rain came down in sheets, turning the streets of downtown Atlanta into a slick, shimmering mess. Officer Dan Harris adjusted his patrol car's windshield wipers, squinting through the downpour. His partner, Officer Mike Riker, tapped the dashboard impatiently. Dispatch says armed robbery at the corner of 5th and Peachtree. Suspect a black male, mid-30s, dark hoodie, armed. Harris tightened his grip on the wheel. Another one. Let's go. The cruiser skidded to a stop outside a dimly lit convenience store. The clerk, a middle-aged man with a bloodied lip, pointed frantically toward the alley. He went that way, took my cash register. Harris and Riker drew their weapons, moving in sync. The alley was narrow, cluttered with dumpsters and broken bottles. And then they saw him. A tall black man in a soaked hoodie, walking briskly away. Freeze! Police! Riker barked. The man turned slowly, hands raised. Officers, I didn't. On the ground. Now! Harris shouted. The man hesitated, just for a second, but it was enough. Riker lunged, slamming him face first into wet pavement. The man grunted as cuffs clicked around his wrists. You just made this a lot harder for yourself, Harris muttered, patting him down. No gun, no cash, just a wallet. Riker flipped it open. A military ID stared back at him. Captain Terrell Washington, United States Army. Harris's stomach dropped. You're a soldier? Washington coughed, spitting rainwater. I was just walking home. I didn't rob anyone. Riker's jaw tightened. Then why'd you run? I didn't. I was walking. Harris exchanged a glance with Riker. The clerk had said the suspect fled. But Washington wasn't running. Then the radio crackled. All units. Suspect in custody at 5th and Peachtree. White male, early 20s. Apprehended with stolen cash and firearm. Silence. Harris's fingers twitched near his holster. Washington's eyes locked onto his. You got the wrong guy. Riker yanked Washington to his feet. Shut up. You're still coming in. Washington's voice turned ice cold. For what? Resisting arrest. The squad car door slammed shut, sealing Washington inside. Through the rain-streaked window, he watched Harris and Riker argue on the sidewalk. Then the engine roared to life. And just like that, Captain Terrell Washington, decorated soldier, Bronze Star recipient, disappeared into the system. The fluorescent lights buzzed like angry hornets overhead as Terrell Washington blinked against the harsh glare. The holding cell reeked of sweat and industrial cleaner. His wrists still ached from the cuffs. Washington Terrell. Charge is resisting arrest. No bail set yet. The jailer's monotone voice didn't even look up as he processed the paperwork. Terrell's military ID sat on the desk beside a half-eaten donut. Sir, I need to make my phone call. I have a right. You'll get your turn, the jailer snapped, finally meeting his eyes. Army, huh? Should know better than to give cops trouble. Terrell's jaw tightened. He'd survived 2 tours in Afghanistan, negotiated with tribal leaders, helped evacuate wounded civilians under fire. None of that mattered here. The courtroom was packed with the usual Monday morning parade of defendants. Tired faces, rumpled suits, the sour smell of regret. Terrell stood stiffly in his orange jumpsuit, the chains around his ankles clinking as he shuffled forward. State versus Washington. The clerk called. The prosecutor, a young woman with a sharp blonde bob, barely glanced at the file. Your Honor, the defendant became combative during a lawful detention. Given his military training, we consider him a flight risk. The judge peered over his glasses. Captain Washington, how do you plead? Not guilty, Your Honor. There's been a mistake. Save it for trial. The judge interrupted. Bail set at $25,000. Next case. The gavel cracked like a gunshot. Terrell finally got his call at 3:17 p.m. His fingers trembled as he dialed the number he knew by heart. 1st Battalion, 75th Ranger Regiment, Sergeant Daniels speaking. Mike, it's Terrell. I'm in Fulton County Jail. A beat of stunned silence. Then, you're joking. Wish I was. Need you to contact JAG and... 1 minute remaining. The automated voice interrupted. Listen, The arresting officers were Harris and Riker. Something's not right. The robbery suspect was already in custody when The line went dead. Terrell's cellmate was a wiry white kid named Dex, in for burglary. He whistled low when Terrell explained his situation. Harris and Riker? Man, they're notorious. Got 3 excessive force complaints this year alone. Dex leaned closer. But here's what you don't know. Riker's brother works for the DA. Nothing sticks to these guys. The revelation hit Terrell like an IED. This wasn't just a mistake. This was a system working exactly as designed. At 2,100 hours, a guard banged on the bars. Washington, lawyers here. The woman waiting in the interview room wore a navy pantsuit, her briefcase covered in protest stickers. Captain Washington, I'm Rachel Nguyen with the Southern Justice Project. Your JAG office reached out to us. She slid a file across the table. Terrell's stomach dropped seeing his own service record. We've already subpoenaed the body cam footage, Rachel said. Problem is, Harris's camera malfunctioned. Riker shows you lunging at them. That's bullshit. I believe you. But here's the reality. The DA's offering a deal. Plead guilty to misdemeanor obstruction. 6 months probation. Walk away today. Terrell stared at her. You want me to admit to something I didn't do? Rachel's eyes hardened. I want you to understand what happens if you don't. They'll bury you under motions until your savings run dry. Even if you win, you'll lose your security clearance. Your career. The fluorescent light hummed between them. Somewhere, a toilet flushed. The institutional sounds of justice at work. Terrell straightened his spine. Tell them no deal. Rachel nodded slowly. Then we go to war. She opened her briefcase, revealing a stack of complaints against Harris and Riker. Turns out you're not their first mistake. Just the first one with a bronze star. Outside, thunder rumbled. The storm wasn't over yet. The rain hadn't stopped in 3 days. Rachel Nguyen's windshield wipers fought a losing battle as she pulled into the parking lot of the Fulton County Public Defender's office. The file on her passenger seat weighed more than the paper was printed on. Every page another brick in the wall between Terrell Washington and freedom. She pushed through the glass doors, her heels clicking against linoleum worn thin by decades of desperate footsteps. The receptionist didn't look up from her crossword. Conference room 3, Rachel said. They waiting. The woman jerked her chin toward the hallway. Since 6. Inside the cramped room, Terrell sat chained to the table, his orange jumpsuit hanging loose where they'd taken his belt. Across from him, a white man in an expensive suit leaned back in his chair, smirking. Ah, the cavalry arrives, the man said. I was just explaining to your client how generous our offer is. Rachel dropped her briefcase on the table hard enough to make him flinch. DA Pearson. Didn't realize they let prosecutors make house calls. Pearson's smile didn't reach his eyes. Captain Washington's situation is unique. He slid a document toward Terrell. Sign this and you walk today. No admission of guilt, just a promise not to sue the city. Terrell's chains rattled as he pushed it away. I'm not signing anything. Pearson sighed. This hero complex of yours is getting tiresome. You think because you served, the rules don't apply? Rachel stepped between them. The only rule being broken is the one where cops can't fabricate charges. We have witnesses who saw the real suspect in custody before Terrell was arrested. Alleged witnesses. Pearson stood, straightening his tie. Funny how none of them want to testify. He paused at the door. Last chance, Captain. The next offer comes after indictment. The door clicked shut behind him. Terrell's breathing was slow, controlled. The kind of calm Rachel had only seen in soldiers and death row inmates. They're scared, he said. Rachel unclipped her laptop. They should be. I pulled every arrest Harris and Riker made in the past year. 78% were black men. 32% had charges dropped for lack of evidence. She turned the screen toward Terrell. Security footage showed a grainy convenience store. A white kid in a red hoodie smashing the register. This is from the liquor store across the street. Timestamp proves you were still 3 blocks away when the robbery happened. Terrell leaned forward. That's our proof. Not enough. The DA will claim it doesn't show the alley where the arrest happened. Rachel tapped the key. But this might. The next clip showed Harris and Riker laughing outside the precinct. Harris mimed tackling someone. Riker's voice crackled through the speakers. Stupid bastard actually thought showing his army ID would help. Terrell's fist clenched. Rachel killed the video. They didn't know their dash cam records audio for 30 seconds after turning off the engine. We got them admitting they knew you were military. A guard banged on the door. Time's up. Rachel waited until he left. There's more. Your cellmate, Dex? He's Riker's CI. They planted him to get you talking. Terrell's eyes went flat. I didn't say anything. I know, but Dex just got released, and he's telling people you confessed. The guard returned, carrying jangling. Rachel lowered her voice. Things are about to get worse before they get better. Can you handle that? Terrell stood, the chains dragging like dead weight. Ma'am, I spent 6 months in a Taliban prison. This ain't my first rodeo. As they led him away, Rachel's phone buzzed. An unknown number. One sentence. Drop the case or meet the same fate as Captain Washington. She stared at the message until the screen went dark. Then she typed a reply. See you in court. The guard slammed the cell door shut behind Terrell. The sound echoed like a gunshot in the empty corridor. Somewhere, a toilet flushed. A man screamed. The ordinary sounds of hell. Terrell sat on the bunk, counting the cracks in the ceiling. He'd gotten 37 when the slot in the door clanged open. A pair of eyes peered through. Not a guard. You Washington? A voice whispered. Terrell didn't move. Depends who's asking. The voice dropped lower. I was in intake when they brought you in. Saw what Riker did to your paperwork. A folded note slipped through the slot. Names. Dates. They've done this before. The slot snapped shut. Terrell unfolded the note with careful fingers. 5 names. 5 dates. All black men. All arrested by Harris and Riker. All dead within a year of release. Official causes ranging from overdoses to suicide. The last name made his blood freeze. Marcus Johnson. Found hanging in his garage. June 17th. Same JAG lawyer as your case. The note crumpled in his fist. Outside, thunder rolled across the city. The storm was just getting started. The alley reeked of rotting garbage and stale urine. Rachel pulled her coat tighter against the biting wind as she approached the figure huddled under a cardboard shelter. Mr. Carter? I'm Rachel Nguyen. You called me about the Washington case. The man peered up from beneath a tattered Army surplus jacket. His eyes were bloodshot, but sharp. A faded 82nd Airborne tattoo peeked out from his sleeve. Took you long enough, he rasped. They're watching my phone. Rachel crouched. Careful not to let her heels touch the damn pavement. You said you have evidence? Carter fumbled with a cracked smartphone. The screen flickered to life, showing shaky footage of a convenience store robbery. Got this from my spot by the dumpster. Saw the whole thing. The video clearly showed the white suspect fleeing, then cut to Terrell being slammed against the wall minutes later. Rachel's pulse quickened. This proves they arrested the wrong man. Carter coughed into his sleeve. Not just that. Watch the end. The footage continued. After the cops hauled Terrell away, Harris returned alone. He pulled something from his pocket, a small black object, and tucked it behind the dumpster. Rachel froze. Is that? Drugs, Carter confirmed. Same thing they planted on my nephew before he overdosed in county lockup. A car door slammed nearby. Carter tensed. Gotta move. They sweep this block every night at 9. Rachel handed him a burner phone. Can you testify? Carter's laugh turned into another cough. Lady, I'm already dead. Just waiting for the paperwork to catch up. He pressed the smartphone into her hand. Get this to someone who gives a damn. As Rachel stood, headlights swept the alley. She ducked behind a dumpster as an unmarked cruiser rolled past. Terrell studied the pause video frame. That's enough to bury them. Not yet, Rachel said. We need Carter to authenticate it in court. Terrell's fingers tapped the table. He won't make it to trial. A guard cleared his throat. 5 minutes. Rachel lowered her voice. There's more. I pulled Harris's financials. He's been depositing large cash sums every month. Same days Riker's brother approves plea deals to their arrests. Terrell leaned forward. They're running a protection racket. Worse, the DA's office has been dismissing charges against real criminals, drug dealers, armed robbers, as long as they pay up. He met her eyes. That liquor store robber works for a crew Harris lets operate in exchange for kickbacks. The guard approached. Time. Rachel grabbed Terrell's wrist. This goes deeper than we thought. They didn't just mistake you. They targeted you because you were close to their operation. Terrell's jaw tightened. My patrol route took me past that store every night. As they led him away, Rachel's phone buzzed. A text from an unknown number. Stop digging. Last warning. She deleted it and dialed a number from memory. Sergeant Daniels? It's Nguyen. I need armed escorts for a witness. And tell Jag we got probable cause for RICO charges. Officer Harris tossed his duffel into the trunk when a voice spoke from the shadows. Evening, officer. Harris spun, hand on his sidearm. A tall figure stepped under the flickering streetlight. Terrell's JAG attorney, Colonel James Holloway, in full dress uniform. This is a restricted area, Harris snapped. Holloway didn't blink. I think you want to hear what I have to say. He held up a file. Like how $18,000 in cash ended up in your sister's college fund. Or why the ballistic report from the Johnson case disappeared. Harris's fingers twitched. You've got nothing. We've got Carter. We've got the video. And we've got 5 families ready to testify about your mistakes. Holloway stepped closer. Here's your one chance to walk away with just a dishonorable discharge instead of life in Leavenworth. A car engine turned over nearby. Harris's eyes darted toward the sound. Tick-tock, officer. Harris lunged, not for his gun, but for the file. Holloway let him grab it. Bad move. Red laser dots appeared on Harris's chest. SWAT teams emerged from the darkness, rifles trained. Harris Danforth, you're under arrest for racketeering, evidence tampering, and felony murder. As they cuffed him, Harris locked eyes with Holloway. This isn't over. The colonel smiled coldly. For you, it is. Riker paced like a caged animal. I want immunity. Rachel slid a photo across the table. Harris in cuffs. Your partner already rolled on you. Said you planted the drugs on Carter's nephew. That's bullshit. Then explain this. She played the dashcam audio. Riker's voice. Just say the end asterisk asterisk. Or reach for your gun like the last one. The color drained from Riker's face. Rachel leaned in. Here's the deal. You confess to framing Terrell Washington, and you might see parole before you die. Outside, dawn painted the sky blood red. Somewhere in the distance, a siren wailed. Riker slumped his chair. Where do I sign? The sun blinded Terrell as he stepped outside, free for the first time in months. Reporters shouted questions. Cameras flashed. Rachel handed him his service cap. They're reinstating your security clearance. Full back pay. Terrell adjusted the brim, shading his eyes. What about Carter? Witness protection. And the DA's resigning. A black sedan pulled up. Colonel Holloway stepped out, metals gleaming. Without a word, he snapped a crisp salute. Terrell returned it, holding the pose a beat longer than regulation. The crowd fell silent. Then, from the back, a single voice called out, "Welcome home, Captain." Terrell took his first unfettered breath in months. The fight wasn't over, but today, at least, the good guys had won. The courtroom air smelled of old wood and nervous sweat. Terrell sat perfectly still at the defense table, his dress blue stiff with starch, the Bronze Star gleaming under fluorescent lights. Every creak of the benches, every whisper from the gallery sounded like gunfire in his ears. At the prosecution table, Assistant DA Pearson tapped a pen against a yellow legal pad. Tap, tap, tap. The rhythm matched Terrell's heartbeat. The bailiff's voice boomed. All rise for the Honorable Judge Cynthia Whitmore. The door behind the bench swung open. Riker's hands shook as he took the oath. His uniform hung loose, the patches stripped, his face pale under the stand's harsh light. Rachel stood, smooth as a blade being drawn. Officer Riker, how many times did you falsify reports with your partner, Dan Harris? Riker's throat worked. Objection. Pearson snapped. Overruled, Judge Whitmore said. Answer the question. Riker's fingers dug into his knees. A few. Rachel tapped her tablet. The courtroom screens lit up with body cam footage. Riker laughing as Harris planted a bag of white powder in a teenager's backpack. How many is a few? Officer. 10? 20. Riker's jaw clenched. Rachel leaned in. Or is it more like the 32 cases we've documented? A gasp rippled through the crowd. A man in a hoodie slipped into the last bench, his face shadowed. His fingers twitched toward his waistband. Two rows up, Colonel Holloway turned his head slightly, eyes tracking the movement. His hand drifted to his hip. Rachel held up an evidence bag. Recognize this? Inside was a black burner phone. Riker's breath hitched. This was recovered from Harris's locker, Rachel said. The last text, handle Washington like Johnson. She turned to the jury. Marcus Johnson, found dead in his garage after accusing these same officers of assault. Pearson shot up. Relevance. Rachel didn't blink. Pattern of behavior, Your Honor. The judge's gavel hovered. Proceed. The man stood abruptly, shoving past knees. His hand dipped into his jacket. Just as Holloway's cane hooked his ankle, the man crashed forward, a pistol skittering across marble. Gun! Chaos erupted. Bailiffs tackled the would-be shooter. Holloway pinned him with a knee to the spine, revealing a face the news had shown for weeks. Riker's brother, the DA's investigator. Judge Whitmore's gavel cracked like rifle fire. Order! Order in my courtroom. Terrell hadn't moved. His eyes locked on the gun now in the bailiff's hands. 9mm Glock. Same as the bullet that killed Johnson. Rachel stood over Riker, her shadow swallowing him whole. One last thing, officer. Why Captain Washington? Riker's voice broke. He saw too much. Saw what? A long pause. Then, barely audible. The money drops. The drugs. The whole damn system. The jury's pens froze midward. Judge Whitmore slammed the door behind her. You've got 10 minutes to explain why I shouldn't declare a mistrial, counselor. Rachel handed her a file. Because this isn't just about Terrell Washington anymore. The judge flipped it open. Page after page of bank transfers, evidence logs with missing items, autopsy photos with inconsistent wounds. Whitmore's face hardened. Jesus Christ. Rachel's voice dropped to a whisper. They've been doing this for years. Pearson's tie was crooked, his voice desperate. Captain Washington resisted arrest. The officers acted in good faith. Good faith? Rachel's laugh was ice. She pointed at Terrell. That man served 3 combat tours. His resisting was standing still while they beat him for being black in the wrong neighborhood. She walked to the jury box, placing Carter's phone in front of a grandmotherly woman in seat 7. You saw the truth. Now do something about it. The woman's fingers tightened around the phone. The back room smelled of coffee and stale perfume. Juror number 7, Martha Evans, retired schoolteacher, slid the phone across the table. They framed a war hero. A construction worker cracked his knuckles and killed folks who talked. The foreman, a young paralegal, nodded at the verdict form. So what's it gonna be? 12 pens hit paper at once. We, the jury, find defendant Captain Terrell Washington not guilty on all charges. The gavel fell. No cheers. No outbursts. Just the sound of 50 people exhaling at once. Terrell stood slowly. His salute to the jury was sharper than any regulation required. As he turned, the gallery parted like the Red Sea. Veterans in uniform, mothers with sons in hoodies, cops who'd stayed silent too long. At the doors, Holloway fell into step beside him. They'll try to bury this. Terrell adjusted his cap. Let them dig. Outside, the sun burned away the last of the storm clouds. Somewhere, a phone rang with a call from Washington. Somewhere, evidence lockers were being emptied. And somewhere deep in the system, the reckoning had only just begun. The rain fell in sheets as Terrell stepped onto the courthouse steps. Flashbulbs popping like muzzle flashes in the gloom. The crowd surged forward, reporters shouting, protesters waving signs, uniformed officers holding back the tide. A microphone jabbed toward his face. "Captain Washington, will you sue the city?" Terrell adjusted his dress blues, the fabric stiff with new starch. His eyes locked onto a black teenager near the barricades. Hoodie soaked through, watching with the same wary calculation Terrell had learned in Fallujah. Rachel's hand closed around his elbow. "We should go." Behind them, the courthouse doors burst open. Pearson stormed out, tie loose, face flushed. Reporters swarmed him. DA's office has no comment pending internal review. A brick sailed from the crowd. Glass shattered somewhere to the left. The police line buckled. Terrell moved on instinct, shoving Rachel behind a pillar as bodies collided around them. Screams erupted. More bricks. A trash can flipped, spraying garbage across the steps. Through the chaos, Terrell spotted him. The kid in the hoodie, pressed against a wall as a cop raised his baton. "Hey!" Terrell's voice cut through the noise. The cop hesitated. 3 strides and Terrell was between them, his back to the kid, staring down the officer's riot shield. "Easy." The cop's nameplate read J. Morales. His knuckles whitened on the baton. "Step aside, Captain." Terrell didn't blink. "Or what? You'll arrest me again?" A camera flashed, capturing the standoff. Decorated officer versus patrolman, dress blues against riot gear. Morales' eyes flicked to the press. The baton lowered an inch. Behind Terrell, the kid breathed hard. "They killed my brother," he whispered. "Same cops who got you." Sirens wailed in the distance. The crowd pulsed like a live wire. Rachel appeared at Terrell's side. Phone pressed her ear. "We need to leave. Now." Terrell kept his body between the kid and the cops. "What's your name?" "Dante." "You want justice, Dante?" Terrell nodded toward the cameras. "Then let them see you." He stepped aside. Flashbulbs erupted as the kid stood tall, tears cutting tracks through the rain on his face. "Marcus Johnson was my brother." His voice cracked. They hung him and called it suicide. The crowd roared. A black SUV screeched to the curb. Holloway leaned out, face grim. "In. Now." As they peeled away, Terrell watched through the rain-streaked window, Dante surrounded by protesters, Morales standing frozen, Pearson screaming into a phone. Rachel handed Terrell a folder. From Carter before witness protection. Inside, crime scene photos of Marcus Johnson's garage. Close-ups of ligature marks. A coroner's report stamped inconclusive in red. And one grainy surveillance still. Harris and Riker entering the garage that night. Holloway met Terrell's eyes in the rear view. "This goes higher than we thought." The SUV turned onto Peachtree, passing the burnout shelled convenience store where it all began. The sign still hung crooked, closed for repairs. Terrell's phone buzzed. Unknown number. One word. "Run." The windshield exploded. "BLM! BLM!" Holloway swore as the SUV swerved. Rachel ducked, glass raining down. Terrell grabbed the wheel, fighting the skid, just as the truck T-boned them. Metal screamed. The world flipped. Terrell's head cracked against a window. Dazed, he tasted blood. Through the crumpled windshield, combat boots approached. A gloved hand reached in, yanking Holloway's limp body onto the pavement. A pistol pressed to his temple. "No!" Terrell's boot shattered the remaining glass. He lunged, tackling the shooter into the street. The gun skittered away, rolling, punching, ribs cracking. Terrell didn't feel the knife until it grated against his ribs. The masked man hissed in his ear. "Should have taken the deal, Captain." Terrell headbutted him. Bone crunched. The knife clattered asphalt. Sirens wailed. Tires screeched. The shooter scrambled up, fleeing into an alley. Terrell tried to follow, but Rachel's scream stopped him cold. Holloway lay motionless, blood pooling beneath his head. His dress blues turned black with it. Terrell pressed shaking fingers to his neck. No pulse. The first news chopper thundered overhead, spotlight freezing them in its glare. The dead colonel, the wrecked SUV, the decorated captain kneeling in his own blood. Distant shouts. Running feet. Rachel gripped Terrell's shoulder. They'll pin this on you. A cop car rounded the corner, lights flashing. Terrell made his choice. He grabbed Holloway's service pistol, pressed it into Rachel's hand. Get to Carter. Then he ran toward the alley where the shooter disappeared. Dress blues rippling in the rotor washed like a flag at half-mast. The last camera caught him vanishing into the storm, not fleeing but hunting. Somewhere in the city, a phone rang. A voice said, "It's done." And the system kept turning. Dante Johnson watched the news report in the motel room. Carter's burner phone in one hand, his brother's autopsy photos in the other. He reached for the spray paint can. Outside, the wall waited.